Do, do.
Mic check. All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. It's Firearms Friday. It's a beautiful Firearms Friday today. It's a little crisp outside. The antlers are falling all around. I've heard a few gunshots this morning, which just brings a warmness to my heart. Hunters out on the properties around me, filling up their freezers. And Clyde presses the DOJ to end NFA registration after OBBBA eliminates the $200 tax. So here's what we're talking about this morning. I hope you guys remember this video. We're going to come back to that in just a minute, but that's a video Attorney General Cummings explaining to Congress how the NFA would entrap citizens and avoid a trial with constitutional questions. So we're going to take a look. Clyde presses the DOJ to end NFA registration after the One Big Beautiful Bill eliminates $200 tax. So for a little context, bring you back, summary. One of the provisions, or actually there were two provisions that we were trying to get through in the One Big Beautiful Bill to shore up our Second Amendment rights. One, to end the NFA tax specifically on suppressors, the silencers, suppressors, right? And two, to end the short barrel rifle designation in the NFA. So to restate the obvious, the official position of the Brushfire Mind on this is quite simply, the NFA is purely unconstitutional. The ATF is abhorrent, is anathema to the Constitution. The mere existence of the ATF is anathema to the Constitution. And every employee, every agent of the ATF should be treated as an enemy of the state. Every single one of them. Because understand this, in order to be a federal officer, in order to be a member, in order to work for the ATF, you take some version of the oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. Right? Now, not every employee of the government does that, but as an officer with empowered to conduct law enforcement activities, you take an oath of office that includes swearing to uphold and defend the Constitution. That means that in order to be an ATF officer, to conduct law enforcement activity under the banner of the ATF, you raise your hand, you swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and then you enter into a profession whose sole mission is to explicitly violate the rights of citizens of the United States of America. To control firearms, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that word is very important, infringed. Right? Infringement does not mean to block. It means to be adjacent to. It means to be related to. So if there is any law or any activity conducted by the government which is related to firearms in any way at all, no registration, no licensure, no control, no restriction, anything, right? It is anathema to the Constitution for there to be safety rules at the government level. Okay? There can be no government involvement with your right to keep and bear arms, which is not abhorrent to the Constitution. It's that simple. So the NFA, the ATF, are a problem. Now, the NFA was created under the constitutional argument that it is, this might sound familiar, it's not a penalty, it's a tax. Oh yeah, we have the right to tax. Oh, we can tax things. Okay, so let's go back to Attorney General Cummings for a second. Go ahead and play this for you. Oh no, I hit the wrong button. No. There we go. Okay. Okay, so to be clear, this is not like actual archival footage. What this is, Brandon Langley, who's a great follow on X, by the way. The Langley Outdoors guys has a good YouTube channel. Y'all should check him out. And this is from early this year, back in May. And I believe I've shared and played this video before. What they did, they took some photographs and made a little like photo reel show to fill the visual space over a reading of the transcript from the hearing where Attorney General Cummings explains to Congress how the NFA tax would entrap citizens and, quote unquote, avoid a trial with constitutional questions, right? So listen to what he says here.
As the Attorney General, I think that this does two crucial things. It deals with these weapons if traded or transferred after the act goes into effect. It deals with the requirement of licensing if a person is to take any weapon across state lines. And I'm assuming in all of this, of course, that the criminal elements are not going to obtain permits, and they are not going to obtain licenses, and they are not going to be able to bring themselves within those protective requirements. Therefore, when we capture one of those people, we simply have a plain question to propound to him. Where is your license? Where is your permit? If he cannot show it, we've got him and his weapons, and we do not have to go through an elaborate trial with all kinds of complicated questions arising. That is the theory of this bill. As the Attorney General,
the entire point was to create a power. The entire point to the NFA was to create a power which is not enumerated, which does not belong to the government per the Constitution, right? The entire point was to skip around the Constitution. And that's what they did with this law. I'd like to find the rest of that, but it's an older clip. It's more than 6 months old now. I know you're getting dead air now. That was not my intent. Anyway, so with the one big beautiful bill, we were hoping to see a lot of that drawn back. What we got was watered down, but it wasn't a win. We gained ground, right? We got a first down, not a touchdown. Okay. So Clyde presses the DOJ to end NFA registration after one big beautiful bill Act eliminates $200 tax. So Clyde pressed DOJ on Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, a strongly worded letter from the U.S. Representative Andrew S. Clyde to Attorney General Pam Bondi marks a pivotal moment over Second Amendment rights and federal firearms regulation. This correspondence outlines Congress's intent following the enactment of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law by President Donald Trump on July 4th. So let me say this about that. It literally uses the words here, a strongly worded letter. I appreciate what you're doing, brother. I appreciate what you're doing. A strongly worded letter, though. This is all we ever get out of Republicans. Okay? We just talked a couple days ago about how the Republicans dropped the ball on the shutdown. What they should have done was end the filibuster. And then they could have moved forward with a 51 vote majority. They've got 53 with 51 vote majority passages. Repeal Obamacare, repeal the NFA, abolish the ATF, right? Eliminate all the safe havens of hostile foreign invaders, end all federal funding to sanctuary states and cities, right? They could have started doing all of that stuff with a 51 vote majority. Oh, but then the Democrats would, fuck you. They're going to do it anyway. We don't have to speculate on that. We've seen them do it. The second the Democrats are back in office, they're going to end the filibuster, and they're going to add seats to the Supreme Court until they have a near unassailable permanent majority. Sergeant Major says they'll have another chance in January. Call your congressman. Yeah, we need to be burning those phone lines up. Call your congressman. All right. So now, all that said, there's my complaint. All we ever get out of the Republicans is a strongly worded letter. Now, the strongly worded letter does have value. It puts things in black and white. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act hailed as a landmark victory for gun owners. No, it wasn't. Some Republicans tried to frame it that way. They caved. They actually gave in to the Democrats way too much on that. But it eliminates the excise tax on the transfer and manufacture of certain firearms regulated under the National Firearms Act of 1934, including short-barrel rifles, short-barrel shotguns, any other weapon, category firearms and silencers. This legislative move has sparked a reevaluation of the NFA's registration and transfer requirements, with profound implications for gun ownership and legal challenges ahead. This is incorrect. It says it eliminates the tax. That is dangerously incomplete explanation of what has occurred. It did not eliminate the tax. There's a big difference here. It reduced the tax to $0. That is not the same as eliminating the tax. It's the difference between getting something for free and getting something for a zero balance invoice. The paper trail matters. If the tax were completely eliminated, that would be the end of the NFA. Because the entire point to the NFA is to create that tax in order to make the legal argument that what the NFA is doing is not infringing on the Second Amendment rights of Americans, but rather explicitly expressing one of the enumerated powers of Congress to levy taxes. There's a big damn difference there, because the tax itself is the justification for the existence of the NFA. That the tax is $0 instead of the tax was repealed means that in a legal sense, the tax remains. It continues to exist. And oh, by the way, please believe that when the Democrats get back in office, eliminate the filibuster, and start passing shit with a 51 vote majority, that NFA tax will be $25,000. Right? That'll be, you'll need a mortgage for every fourth rifle. Sergeant Major asks, if the NFA were eliminated, he asks if the NFA were illuminated, would the ATF go away? I like that. I like the use of that word. Let's light it up. But I believe you meant eliminated. If the NFA were eliminated, no, the ATF would not automatically go away as a result. It should, and yes, we should abolish the ATF and incarcerate every person who has ever worked for the ATF under any circumstance whatsoever, without exception. I don't care if you were the janitor. If you work for the ATF, you belong in jail. That is the most charitable I can be on that. I would prefer we still hang traitors, but charitably we can incarcerate them, I suppose. But no, the elimination of the NFA would not eliminate the ATF, because to my knowledge, the NFA did not explicitly create. I don't think the ATF was actually created by the NFA. I am a little embarrassed that I don't know that off the top of my head. I'll have to look that up. I'll look that up in just a second. Let me get through the rest of this. The NFA, enacted nearly a century ago, imposed a $200 excise tax on the manufacture and transfer of specific firearms. Alongside this tax, the law established stringent registration requirements, mandating that gun owners submit detailed personal information to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. This information includes names, dates of birth, demographic details, fingerprints, home addresses, and the physical locations of firearms. The Supreme Court in Sonzinski v. United States upheld these provisions as a constitutional exercise of Congress's taxing power under Article 1, Section 8, deeming them a legitimate mechanism to support tax collection. That is absurd, right? And let me take this back another step as well. You've got the obvious violation of the Second Amendment, but we very rarely discuss these in terms of violations of the Fourth Amendment. The income tax, most taxes as we know them today, were unconstitutional. It required an amendment of the Constitution to create the IRS and the bulk of the taxes with which you are currently familiar, including property tax, by the way. These are illegal taxes under the original framing of the Constitution. We had to go in and mutilate and pervert the Constitution in order to create the barrier to upward mobility that is the modern progressive, and that word matters, progressive tax system. To make you poor, to make you weak, to strip you of your resources, your rights, and your dignity, to strip you of your firearms, to strip you of your God-given right to defend the life of yourself, your children, and your property. Right? So the mere existence of a firearms registration of any kind, of a record of firearms owners, is a violation of the Fourth Amendment of every American citizen. Possibly the greatest scandal that goes undiscussed is the fact that there are lawmakers who have signed their names to laws which are so egregious, which are such obvious, blatant, and intolerable violations of their oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution, continue to live and breathe and walk the free street. If I had my way, we would, in fact, at a minimum, incarcerate every person who has ever put pen to paper in support of any kind of gun control. And I would take that a step further and say the same of taxation. But our representation, the representation of the American people and the Constitution, is woefully inadequate in the American government today. The best you can hope for at the ballot box right now is that you can vote in somebody who will say, "Whoa, Democrats, slow down. We don't have to be in a hurry. We've got all the time in the world to fuck everything up." I mean, I still vote because basically, I'll do what I can, and the best we can hope for right now, out of any, there is not an exception to this statement, not one. The best politician you can hope for slows down the forward march of the Democrat Party, which is today an entirely captured institution of communists who seek the absolute and complete and total destruction of the United States Constitution. And so that's where we're at. So, yeah, Sergeant Major says the truly good people don't run for office because politicians are so disgusting. You know, the more I do this, the more I report on politics and study politics, Dad, the more I'm becoming convinced that good men can't run for office because the system is so entirely corrupt that it just will not allow people in unless there's something the system can use to blackmail them. Basically, if you don't have something like an Epstein file, then the system will not tolerate your entry into it. Cade says because there should be no such thing as a politician. Yeah, I like Plato's idea. When people think of Plato on politics and government, they usually go straight to the philosopher king, and part of the point of that diatribe was that there cannot be such a good thing as the philosopher king because no man is that pure and good. One of the solutions he put forward involved essentially that all of your politicians, all of your lawmakers would serve 2-year terms, and they would be slaves for that 2-year period. So for 2 years, they would have the job of managing the logistics and the logistics and intricacies of governance and legislation. They would be expected to manage things to a great degree of efficiency, to the greatest benefit to the populace. For that 2-year period, while they were serving in legislation, they would live a very Spartan life where they essentially lived in jail cells and were escorted to the legislature where they would perform their job, be fed basically minimum healthy diet. And for 2 years, they would be slaves to the populace. And at the end of that 2 years, if they were ineffective or unsuccessful, they did a poor job of governing, then they would be executed upon their replacement. If they did a good job, then they would be released and replaced. And it was a volunteer position. You would volunteer to be a politician, right? You would serve your period. And at the end of that time, the people would judge whether you had been a good one or not. And you would either be released or executed. I love it. I'm totally comfortable with it. I say we should flip the switch and go to that right now. Right? Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and spend $1 billion right now on building a new legislative prison. And what do we need? Almost 600 pair of leg irons and shackles. Let's do it. Right? Put every one of them. Put every single one of them in burlap sacks for the next 2 years. Start having elections where people aren't allowed to. Nobody gets to throw their hat into the ring to get into the election. No. You get nominated. You don't seek nomination. We nominate you. Oh, hey, so-and-so is doing a good job at what you call it. Throw them in the box. Let's see what we can shake out of them for the next 2 years. You come out stronger or you don't come out. Love it. All right. So, in conjunction with this, we've got several lawsuits related to it. We've got the Brown v. ATF filed August 1st, 2025 in the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of Missouri. Plaintiffs include the NRA, the Second Amendment Foundation, American Suppressor Association, Firearms Policy Coalition, and a retailer called Prime Protection, and several private individuals. The legal argument: since the NFA, since the $200 excise tax on NFA items was eliminated by the One Big Beautiful Bill, the plaintiffs argue that the registration/transfer regime lacks the historical tax justification and thus now violates the Second Amendment and or exceeds Congress's enumeration. The DOJ has filed an answer. I don't have a copy of that yet, but that case is moving forward. Jensen versus the ATF filed in the U.S. District Court, Northern District of Texas, challenging key provisions, motion for summary judgment filed on November 12th. That one is this it? Yesterday, Gun Owners of America Incorporation. This is the wrong one. I've got a couple of them pulled up, and now I've got them. They're out of order. Anyway, so let's go on. Silencer Shop Foundation et al. Versus the ATF. Federal lawsuit which heightened state-level participation. 15 states joined as of August 8th, 2025. The focus: challenged the registration transfer aspects of NFA now that tax is zeroed out. States argue the federal scheme is constitutionally infected because the legislative justification is gone. Amended complaint filed, still in early litigation phase. And then there's the Gun Owners of America motion for summary judgment. Filed a separate motion for summary judgment in a case challenging the NFA registration scheme as applied to the newly untaxed items. So all four actions converge on the legal pivot, with the tax on certain NFA items reduced to zero. The registration/tracking provisions of the NFA arguably lack their original constitutional foundation, taxing power plus regulation, and thus may be ripe for invalidation. So let's be clear. The point of all this, what I'm saying to you, it is not the case that absent the tax, the NFA lacks the constitutional foundation, the legal justification for its existence. That is an argument that's being made by lawyers. The fact is, what is the case is that the NFA, that DA Cummings, AG Cummings, used the illegitimate argument that if Congress has a power enumerated in the Constitution, it may exert that power in order to manufacture or fabricate an encroachment into other authorities, which, even if those authorities, like in the case of the Second Amendment, are explicitly forbidden among the enumerated powers that the Congress may usurp. So my point is, it is not the case that the abolition of the NFA tax removes the justification. That may be true, but it's only true because the fact remains that the use of that justification was illegal, unconstitutional, and illegitimate at its inception. It was always a false premise. It was always an abhorrent usurpation of authority explicitly forbidden to Congress. through the illegitimate application of one of its several enumerated powers. It's right up there with making the argument that because some marijuana is traded across state lines, the government has the right to regulate your growth of marijuana on your private property. Right? The Commerce Clause can be used to regulate your use of your private property if it can be shown that other people engage in the same activity at a scale that constitutes interstate commerce. That's insane. That's arguing that because people cross state lines, that the government can come into my bedroom and regulate how my wife and I produce children. I'm sorry, that's a good way to get yourself shot in the face. That's a real good way to get yourself shot in the face. And guys, if you ain't never shot nobody in the face, let me tell you something. You will be hard as Chinese algebra. But that's beside the point. Yeah, at your next earliest opportunity, you should go put your thumbs on a butterfly. Some of you, if you know, it's good for your soul. Go put your thumbs on a couple of broom handles and a butterfly. It's good for your soul, man. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this one around, and let's get to a safety brief. And for today's safety brief, we're going to do the Don't Do That edition. I hope you've got a good cup of coffee, and I highly encourage you to take one good sip right now, swallow it, and take a breath. For safety. Here we go. Okay. What are the safety rules, guys? 1, hold your weapon correctly. Get a good firm grip on it, because shit. And that one, man, watch that second one closely again real quick, because that could have gone real bad. Okay? That, you know what that looks like to me? That looks like an Israeli Arms Desert Eagle to me. You see that ambidextrous. Yep, that's an Israeli Arms Desert Eagle. You see the ambidextrous safety right there, right? That's a keen giveaway. Dead giveaway. And just look at when it pops back. It didn't just tap her on the head. She's got her finger on the trigger with a 50 caliber, maybe a 45. It's hard to tell what caliber it is from that shot. You know, maybe it's only 45, but she's got that thing pointed at her forehead and his face when it pops back and taps her on the dome, right? So it's not just funny that she got hit in the face. Like, they had a moment there that she almost ended the both of them. This one. Okay. And guys, you got to make sure your equipment's good. You got to make sure your equipment's right? I know I got some vets out there who remember getting ready to go out on patrol, getting ready to go out on mission, right? What do? What's the last thing you do? Once you've got everything put together before you throw your pack on, before you throw your assault pack on, you go over all your straps real quick and you make sure they're all taped down tight so you don't have floppies, right? You got your shit tight. You got your belt on tight. You got your boot split blouse tight. Everything's tight, right? And an outside observer who doesn't know any better might think, oh, yeah, you got to make sure you look good in that uniform. It's all about looking good. The uniform's got to look. No, it's so that you don't have floppy shit hanging around that's going to do stuff you don't expect it to do or get grabbed by somebody. Or this. Whoops. Oh, my God.
Let's get it, baby.
No, son. I was about to say, she looks like she knows what she's doing. Oh no. There's too much gun for you, little girl.
Show you how what's tactical turkey do.
Yeah. Whew. So, safety. Right? Coffee first, mission second, safety when it's convenient, right? But it's worth paying attention to, guys. Okay? Now, that last clip, old boy with the, what is that, a Snow Wolf? Is that an M99, a Barrett M99? Yeah. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that's, not this chick. Homeboy right there. Yeah, that's a Barrett M99 Snow Wolf. That's chambered in 50 BMG, I believe.
Show you how what's tactical turkey do.
That's I ain't gonna lie, that's pretty metal right there. That's pretty metal right there. Maybe sometime soon I can find the raw footage from the Black Sword Rifle Company. That's what it was. Black Sword Rifle Company. They never paid their bills, but we got some good video footage out of them, and it was the first time Cameron ever got to shoot a machine gun. That was a lot of fun. But so be safe out there, guys. Pay attention. Move your selector switch from safe to semi and watch your lane. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.